This podcast is not for children. It's a podcast where four friends get together and we try to amaze each other with facts about the world or facts about how we found out those facts about the world enough that someone else on the podcast will say, Holy fucking science! Hi, everyone. It's Hank here. We're joined today by special guests. Jenova, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
Is your last name Payton?
Yeah.
I was making sure I didn't make that up.
It's okay.
Good, I'm glad.
It changes all the time. Don't worry about it.
Could I just call you, do people call you Jen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just know because I sign your paychecks. I don't actually sign your paychecks. It's
No, you
direct
don't.
deposit. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
We're talking about nutrition today.
Having healthy beverages.
You're having a healthy scapegoat?
Yep.
Scapegoat Pale Ale. Thanks to our sponsor, Big Sky Brewery. You're also representing them with your shirt today.
Yeah, I obviously hate beer.
And you work on SciShow, doing SciShow things.
Yep.
Make graphics, make them look good.
Yeah, all the video making things, recording you, taking out those bloopers. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Saving them for later. Just for blackmail. We're also joined by Dr. Arron Carroll of Healthcare Triage and also of being a pediatrician and also of your column in the New York Times. Fancy man. And also author of the new book, The Bad Food Bible.
Yes, very excited about that. Comes out November 7th. Which is so we're on topic here. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I think that maybe we designed this around you.
Oh, then that would be very nice.
Yeah.
Which is perfect.
We're talking about nutrition. I don't know what that is. What's nutrition?
I
Mr. Author of a book about nutrition.
guess it would be sort of the science of what we eat and whether it is good or bad for us.
Okay. I'm not sure that I'm going to be super on topic then.
No, it totally doesn't matter. In fact, I'm super excited because I'm going to get to talk about something that got cut from my book, so it's perfect.
Oh,
It's like we're getting a behind-the-scenes excerpt.
Yeah. And also Victoria Bongiorno. Hello.
Hi.
Head of Community and Communications at Complexly.
Yes.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Are we, Arron wasn't there, but the three of us were just at our staff retreat 3 days ago. Are we all recovered?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
I mean, the two of you maybe.
maybe not socially.
My eyeballs still hurt.
Why do your eyeballs?
Because I'm old and I can't drink 8 beers anymore.
I wasn't aware it affects your eyeballs.
You know what a hangover is,
Just
right?
hurts.
24-year-old.
Don't really get hungover.
You don't really get hungover.
yeah.
Let me finish that for you yet.
Okay.
I don't get that point.
Yeah. Eventually, I think you will know what this feeling is. I used to think that hangovers were a myth.
I got way more hungover when I was 24 than I do now.
Oh, no.
Did
But
you
of course,
drink
I probably
more?
don't drink. I think I drank more beer. I drink more hard alcohol now.
Oh, wow. Is that better for you? Is
It has fewer carbs. That's sort of what I was going for.
Okay. Yeah. Good. One of the things I found out while researching for this is that Guinness is one of the lowest carb beers that you can get on tap, which does not sound right.
I don't know. I don't. I did not know that. So I don't know.
It's one of the lowest calorie, too.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they see it's all the carbs.
Basically,
Yeah,
basically
hard
that's
alcohol
what
has fewer calories than beer usually too.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, it's
Unless
great.
you're putting like Coke in it.
No, don't do that. Or Diet Coke.
Yeah. Ew. Gross.
I'm not saying you should. I just that'd be less calories.
Yeah. I don't think about it.
Okay.
Because they don't put the nutritional information on it. So it makes us not think about it, which is probably the point.
Yep.
So, nutrition. And thus, the person who's going to go first is the person who ate most recently. Because you, that person, are taking best care of your nutrition. It's probably me, because I just had a slice of pizza.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah.
So I ate about 6 minutes ago. Who's next?
I think I probably stopped snacking right before the meeting. I have nuts at my desk, so
Oh, yeah.
just
Snackers.
all the time.
Was it 6 minutes ago?
No. It was like an hour, maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
And I think I was about 2.5 hours ago.
Okay. Victoria?
Like 2 o'clock-ish? I don't know.
Okay. All right, so you're last.
Oh, God. Okay.
You want to go first?
Or we could switch the order if that's freaking you out.
No, it's fine.
Okay. All right, you guys. We, maybe not most intelligently, but we as humans eat a lot of other animals. We're designed for it, but it's a resource-intensive activity that is, I don't know, maybe Arron will tell us how good or bad it is for you. But so we eat lots of different parts of the animal, but we mostly eat the muscle these days. We'll also eat some skin, and we'll also eat some other parts that might get thrown in with your sausages that are useful. Sometimes you boil the bones and you get some bone broth. But we used to eat a lot more of the animal than we do now. And these days we don't eat so much of the organs and stuff, but there is a piece of the animal that I don't think we think about a lot that used to be a huge, super important part of human diets that we hardly ever eat anymore. And I'm just going to like let you guys guess for a while so that it's not just me talking forever.
Why did everyone look at me?
Oh,
Don't eat animals.
I have a guess. I'll go first.
Yeah, Victoria doesn't even eat animals. She is not aware of any animal parts that we eat.
Liver?
Not liver is not the thing. It's more of the body than the liver.
The intestine. I'm not
The
cheating.
intestines, no. It's
Blood.
The blood. He got there.
He got 2 guesses.
Oh,
did.
okay.
It's
Well, you
true.
had a guess. I was just going
That's
again.
not the
late.
intestines. It is the blood, which is not like, it's weird because to me that seems like that's not food. That's drink. Like, I don't know. It seems quite gross to me to think about eating blood. I'm not sure why, because I eat muscle which contains blood.
It doesn't taste good.
It doesn't taste good.
No.
Have you had a bunch of
I've
blood?
had like blood sausage, which
Yeah.
has, and I've just never, and I love meat, but it just never was one of those things that was terribly appealing. It didn't taste very good.
Blood sausage?
Yeah.
I find blood sausage tastes fine. Like it tastes like
Right.
any sausage to me.
Oh, really? I
Blood
did not
sausage
feel
is a
that way.
real thing that exists in this world.
Yeah, blood sausage. It comes sometimes called black sausage. And there's also like what is it called? Blood soups.
Ooh, I don't know
There's a
that.
thing for it. That,
I'm just really enjoying
I
Victoria's
know.
reactions.
If
to
I had
every
known
word.
Victoria was co-hosting, I didn't pay enough attention, and so I've really gone ahead and made it the most uncomfortable episode for someone who's a little squeamish about meat eating.
I'm not squeamish. I'm horrified, but continue.
So, blood was especially eaten by nomadic peoples. So they would milk and bleed their animals, and that was a pretty complete set of nutrients. So you could like be traveling around, taking your food with you. The animals eat the grass, and you don't have to kill the animals. You don't have to eat their muscles. You just bleed them into a cup, and that's how Mongols did it. So it turns out, this is the weird thing that I discovered.
Wasn't weird until now.
No, that's just people used to eat blood. We don't as much anymore. So here's a stat for you. A cow, just a normal sized female cow that you might kill and slaughter, and has about 15,000 calories of blood. So that's calories that we're not consuming and using for human stuff. Though for the most part, that ends up going to something. It goes into animal feed, or it's split into different parts, and some of it's used in weird things like cosmetics or cigarette filters or like industrial purposes of various kinds. But it is a bunch of calories that we have access to that we don't consume as humans. But mostly it ends up in animal feed. So it does get consumed.
Does
at
it
least.
really go into cigarette filters?
Cigarette filters,
It's like
right?
literally, it's like you couldn't make cigarette filters any more cigarettes any more evil, but we're putting like cow blood into them. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, probably virgin cow blood too, just to make it like super like, okay, this is a Satan thing.
Can you make it any worse? It's made with cow blood.
Yeah, just suck on that virgin cow blood stick. I'll let Michael Gardner know. My local smokes friend. My local friend who still smokes. So here's the weird thing I found out. That blood is extremely chemically similar to egg white. It has a very similar proportion of water to proteins. And especially like, I don't know this for sure, but I feel like if you could extract the blood cells, like then it would be even more similar to egg whites. But you can use blood in almost any recipe that calls for eggs. So you can make blood cakes, and you can make blood pancakes, and you can make blood meringue, which sorry about the picture that you just saw on my computer, but that's some frothed up blood right there. You can make blood chocolates, and you can make all kinds of, so so I've read the recipe now for how to make a blood meringue. And also this blood sponge cake, and it seemed like people were kind of okay with it. It seems like the trick to cooking with blood is lots of flavor to cover up the fact that it tastes like blood.
Yeah.
So here we have the comparison of blood and egg. Egg white is 87.9% water. Blood of a cow is 80% water. Protein 17% versus 10%. Lipids there's way more, and in the whites, lipids only, this is the fats, only 0.3% fat in the egg white, which I didn't know. But blood, also a very small piece, and same with carbohydrates. So just very similar. There's actually more calories in blood than in egg whites, which is a weird thing to think about. I hadn't considered how much protein there is in blood, but I guess it makes a lot of sense because you have those blood cells. There's a lot of protein in blood cells. And of course, the reason why these people wrote this whole thing, turns out a lot of people are allergic to egg, and they're looking for egg replacements.
You can use applesauce.
I was about to say that.
You can mix a flaxseed with some water or chia seeds and some water. We don't need to go bleeding cows
I mean,
for your
Victoria,
blood
the cows
cells
are
and
already
leftovers to make your
bleeding.
blood
love it.
pancakes.
I love it because we're saying like
And then smoke your blood cigarette like Satan. Sorry.
here's an animal product that you can't eat, so we're gonna find a more horrifying.
Why is it more horrifying than a muscle?
The idea of like bleeding cows.
Well, they bleed when you kill them, Aaron. It's not like they're like going out into the field and being like poke, poke, poke. No, they're cutting the cow open and then blood comes out. And at the butcher shop, you can go to a butcher shop and be like, I would like some blood. But the upsetting most upsetting part of this, I probably shouldn't even mention it, was when the recipe for the blood pancakes. The first step is strain the blood, and I'm like, why? What's in the blood that you need to get out of the blood? Turns out blood clots.
Right, which is why I would think it would be actually hard to get the blood in. I mean, you'd have to treat it so it wouldn't solidify.
Yes. Also, here's best practices. Step 2. It should have a sweet, rich, metallic odor without strong animal flavors. Strong aromatic changes can occur in uncastrated pigs due to their production of scatol and androsterone. Scatol seems like a molecule you don't want to mess with. It starts with scat, so I'm just going to guess that scatol is probably not the best smelling compound in chemistry. It's definitely got that nitrogen group that makes me think it's going to be stinky. Scatol has been shown to cause pulmonary edema in goats, sheep, and rats, and some strains of mice. It appears to selectively target club cells, which are the major site of cytochrome P45 enzymes in the lungs. So maybe not eat a bunch of that. But does it smell bad?
Well, even the metallic smell doesn't sound appetizing.
Oh, it has a flowery smell, and it's found in several flowers and essential oils, including orange blossoms, jasmine, and Ziphus mauritania. It's used as a fragrance and a fixative in many perfumes. So, I take it all back. Scatol is not named after scat. It's named after something else.
That apparently smells good enough to put into perfume.
Yeah. It's from, the Greek root from scato, meaning dung. Was discovered in 1877 by the German physician Ludwig Breiger. It's also used in the U.S. military as non-lethal weaponry.
Pancakes are non-lethal weaponry either.
It's a malodorant, which seems to be something that just smells bad. But I don't understand. I've gotten very mixed signals from this Wikipedia page. Anyway, that wasn't where I intended to go. But blood, 35% of your daily protein in 100 grams. That's a lot of protein.
That is. Yes. Okay.
I feel like you've excited some wannabe vampire listeners. And they're like, I'm going to go make some blood
Is this like
pancakes.
a thing though? Yeah. Is it like, are there people that are advocating for this or saying they use blood all the time? Or is
They're people that so this site that I read was just like, it's an alternative for egg whites. And I like, to me it seems a lot like you're looking for an excuse to write an article on the
The Dollar Tree has really big things of applesauce. You can just go there, pick one of those up, and you're good.
That's why I have applesauce. My vegan banana bread.
Yeah,
I'll try blood next time.
Flushing away the boar taint is the title of this next article in the series. I don't know. I'm not going to read any more of that. I'm just going to tell you the headline, and you guys can look it up. This pictures of the blood meringue are a little bit upsetting, and but the pancakes look fine.
What were they using the blood meringue with? Like cookies?
No, they're just making blood meringues with sugar, and you just eat them. So like an egg is about 58 grams, and you need about 65 grams of blood to make up for the less protein in the blood. At least we're using the blood for something.
But you already said we were using the blood for something.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
We don't have to be cooking.
Right, I
with
mean,
it.
yes, exactly. If I don't make meringues, it'll all still be okay.
But in the future, during the apocalypse, do not forget about this important source of nutrition.
And lethal weapons, right?
Yeah, malodorants, non-lethal weapons.
Oh, okay.
I mean, would there be any benefit to having your own blood as a stockpile that you take out every once in a while because you're
And just
reconsuming
refrigerate it?
So I don't know.
No,
I mean,
no.
I would
That's
assume
like a perpetual motion machine.
you'd have to have
thing.
someone else.
Yeah, because it takes more energy to make blood than you're going to get from the blood that you eat. Yeah, 300 calories. That's a lot. Food. 15,000 calories in a cow.
That's a lot. But although, I mean, imagine, a cow's got to be so many calories. Percentage.
Oh yeah, how many calories is in a cow?
Yeah, I figure so many.
I recently read how many calories was in a human, and it was sort of like, and most of a lot of them were in the skin, and that was upsetting.
A lot of fat there.
Yeah.
Was that for that cannibalism episode?
I don't know. I think I was just doing that for my own fun.
Oh. Okay, I feel less disturbing now.
Because I think 15,000 sounds a lot, but I bet it's a small percentage of the cow.
It's 3% of the cow.
Yeah.
There's only 3%, around 3% of all organisms is their blood, which to me seems like that's a really small amount. I thought that I was more blood than that. Because when I get poked, that's all that comes out.
Yes, that's all that can come out, though.
Right. That's the trick.
Yeah.
Which
That's
other
all the rest
parts
of it
of
goes
you
stuck together.
expect to see there?
There are 6 million calories in an elephant.
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
people are guessing around 800,000 in a cow.
That's still
But that's a
lot.
guess.
They keep you going for a long time.
I love people who answer these questions. Over 100,000 easy. That's not an answer. Rob. So that's what I got for you. There's a lot
Awesome.
of calories in a cow, but also there's some that we're not using. But it gets eaten by other animals, apparently.
Feed it to other animals, and then we eat it, right? It's all good.
All right. Jen, snacker.
Mine is much less exciting than that.
Well, I mean, I'm a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. So nutrition, as you probably know, and you know, it's really hard to study because it's just so variable and everything is different and it's hard to control. And so I was kind of looking into some different things. I tried to do some intermittent fasting, and you had started it a few weeks before me, so I'm wondering how that went for you. But basically, I just was really angry and tired and hungry, and then I'd binge eat when I could eat, because I was doing the time where basically you don't eat during a certain window of time, and then you can eat whatever you want during the rest of it, which obviously was not the right choice for me anyway. And so I stopped doing it after I think a month. But
So is this like a 12-hour period of fasting, or what does that mean?
I did
8:16.
We call that
probably.
nighttime.
there's different
Yeah, no,
ones.
that's my fast. And then you have
that's what
break
it is.
fast.
No, I did 16 hours. I could
Okay.
eat during an 8-hour period. So I went from noon to 8.
Yeah, that sounds like cranky morning time.
Yeah, what was the theory behind that? Why would that...
This is actually proven. This has been studied a lot, and it works well for a lot of people. It doesn't work for everyone.
For weight loss or for
A lot of things.
happiness, healthiness.
This is your topic.
Okay.
Well, it's one of the topics. Yeah, I have 2 things. This one I'm just going to briefly glaze over because I didn't see any of these benefits because I didn't do it long enough. But basically, so fasting has benefits, and that's been proven, but it also has detriments because you're obviously starving yourself for a certain amount of time. So intermittent fasting kind of balances that back out. And so there have been some studies, obviously not very many on humans yet, but a lot on mice and stuff.
People.
Yeah. But obviously weight loss can be one of the side effects, but there's things like, elevating mood instead of making you hangry after a few weeks is supposed to be the opposite. Sometimes even euphoria. It can help with depression. In mice, it actually was helping Alzheimer's. And some other things that have to do with just living longer and disease stuff.
I recently had somebody ask me about this, and they were like, "What do you know about intermittent fasting?" And I was like, "Nothing." And they were like, you can look it up because I don't know. Because people are telling me it's good, and I don't know, and I trust you." I was like, "Okay," and I didn't look it up.
Yeah. I don't know if I wrote all the health issues because I wrote this a few months ago. When
It's
I was actually doing it.
what my friend was saying was that it's about sort of regulating the amount of glucose in your blood, giving your body some time without new glucose.
Yeah, it was
Or,
helpful with
to
diabetes.
sort of refresh where
Yeah.
your body doesn't have to be constantly regulating blood sugar the same way.
So in some of the species, had longer lifespan, reduces hypertension, helped with asthma and arthritis, and had like a whole bunch of things. So it's still a really new thing. I don't really have any of that at this point, but I was like, maybe I'll do something. But I just got really, really loopy. That was the thing where I was like basically doing like a shoot, and it would start at like 11 a.m. So I hadn't eaten yet, and then I'd be script supervising and
That's not good.
pay attention.
We need you.
So I stopped doing it.
We need you at your full to make sure I say all the words in the right order.
Yeah, so that was a big reason why I stopped, because I didn't have the, if it was just an afternoon shoot, but it wasn't a thing. So anyway, so that kind of got me interested in the idea that we're all different people and we have different genetics, and like you might be like, maybe I can eat gluten, but someone else can't. And there's different intolerances, there's different ways that your body processes food, to the point where there's actually better diets for different people. So I started going into, discovered there might be a vegetarian gene.
Oh, like it's better for you.
Like you are more able to process a vegetarian diet like more easily, or you're not as easily able. So different, basically from where you are in the world or where your ancestors came from, you're more well adapted to eat more meat or less meat. And it's kind of like just an evolutionary thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes, like when we did a SciShow episode on the paleo diet, and like, what does that actually mean? Because different cultures have all the way from 100% meat-eating cultures in the Paleolithic to 100% vegetarian cultures in the Paleolithic. Like, that's what we're best at, is doing whatever the fuck and still surviving.
And that I think is
but I guess it makes sense if you're like, if there's a culture that like subsisted on just meat or just not meat for, thousands or tens of thousands of years, it's probably some adaptations that make that lifestyle more suitable.
Exactly. And so where you come from might dictate kind of what you should be eating. So that person next to you that's doing great on their whatever diet doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you.
Yeah.
And so that was correlated with also like exercise. Like various types of exercise also have to do with what your ancestors did.
Also, is there a gene for like self-control? Because that diet's not that diet's not going to work well for me if that bag of potato chips is just sitting there looking at me. Which it is all day at the office.
The biscuits and gravy
Somebody needs
ones.
to finish those chips.
So basically there's an allele from what this one study is saying that exists with more of the vegetarian diets, and it's kind of missing when they had the people who were eating more of just like the marine diet, like the Inuit. I'm not a scientist. So I'm presenting this very poorly. I apologize.
Is 23andMe going to tell me that I should be eating meat because I'm in like...
Probably not, Hank. Let's not count on it.
Just more blood.
Just more blood?
More blood.
Yeah, to get that 23andMe blood gene.
That's right.
You should go out in the night and bite a cow.
15,000 calories.
Yeah.
You'll be good for a while.
Yeah. And cows, what are they going to do to me?
So basically they took data from the 1,000 Genomes Project, which just has a bunch of sequenced genes, and they found that the vegetarian allele was in 68% of Indians, like from India, and just 18% of Americans, and they had 70% of South Asians, 53% of Africans, 29% of some of the other East Asians, and 17% of Europeans. So it's like it varies, obviously.
Right, but like India, where they like are almost all vegetarian.
Exactly.
It's like the most vegetarian nation on earth.
So they've adapted to actually thrive on that more or less, depending on where they are.
Maybe someday we'll convert all humans into vegetarians. Now I feel so totally justified in not being a vegetarian. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
Forced by his genes.
It's forced. I'm one of those Americans who just needs to eat meat. It just says so. And by meat, I mean chicken McNuggets.
Is that meat?
It is. Now they're all breast meat, aren't they?
They've always been high quality.
I'm not arguing, but now it's like, yes.
There's in the meat part is almost all meat, and the breading part is almost all lighter fluid.
Okay. It's the cow's blood that didn't make it into the cigarette filters. They turned it into breading.
Yeah. Bread blood.
I'm not
Blood
anti-chicken
bread.
McNugget. Don't get me wrong. They're delicious.
What do they call the blood soups? I can't remember what this is.
Is there really
blood
something
soup.
for that?
Is it just blood? Yeah, I mean it's yeah.
No, I mean, is there a
pudding.
name?
Yeah, blood pudding. That's
Oh,
what they
that
call
was
it.
what you were going for. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, blood pudding, because that's even grosser than calling it soup.
Yes.
Blood.
Well, that's because it congeals. Blood
Right.
does not stay liquid.
Victoria.
Thought it was last.
Oh, no,
I'm third.
Aaron.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk about not meat. So one of the things that I'm always fascinated with is how we keep finding new foods to demonize or hate. And so
Trans fat.
trans fat is almost one of the few legitimate things.
Okay, so trans fat's real bad.
Trans fat's bad.
Wait, how do you feel about saturated fat?
I'm not nearly as anti-saturated fat as I am
Okay.
trans fat. Saturated fat is
Well, because they started to make trans fat to
Yeah.
so that you wouldn't
The
eat as
chemical
much saturated
right.
fat, and it turns out it was way more than bad.
The chemical trans fats are just horrific. So getting those out. I mean, there's some natural trans fats. What are you going to do? They just exist, but they're not big. But the saturated fat, there's some evidence I think that it's worse than the unsaturated fats, but it's not nearly as compelling as a lot of I think nutrition experts would have you believe.
Okay.
But the
But-
trans fat's bad. Let me guess another bad thing. Vodka enemas.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, but again, it's like, why would you do that?
I don't know, to make feel the burn.
Yes, alcohol in your ass is not a good idea. Just no.
It's good to ask your doctor these questions.
Then I'm
though,
happy to
right?
answer them. We have no trouble with it. I just no. There's just no reason to shut anything.
What alcohol can I put in my
None.
ass?
None. You can put any of them. You should put none of them. I was going to talk about GMOs. So
Okay.
So a lot of people totally hate GMOs, and one of the things that always baffles me about it is the definition of what people will say is a GMO and is not a GMO, because
So we're talking
genetically modified organisms
in your
So,
ass.
Not a good idea. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't think it's been studied well, so I couldn't tell you. Or I don't think there's any reason to think that sort of conventional, grown food would be any worse or better for you in your ass than GMOs. So they're probably about equivalent. Anyway, we're very haphazard in how we define GMOs, and in Europe, they are way stricter about it than we are in the United States. Like they will sell all kinds. They will ban all kinds of foods that they label as GMOs. But there's this one type of wheat called rennin, which is incredibly popular in France because it can be organically grown. It's an organic wheat. It doesn't really require a lot of herbicide. They can grow pretty easily. It's not banned by anybody, but the story behind it is so clearly GMO that you have to almost feel like that this is some kind of conspiracy or that there's something against it. So rennin is incredibly popular, as I said, in Europe.
Can you spell this word?
R-E-N-A-N.
Okay.
Rennin. It's resistant to fungus and other pests. It's great. But it didn't get that way naturally. Like rennin is not found anywhere in nature on its own. It got its resistance from a grass which is known as Aegilops ventricosa. So farmers couldn't get this grass to breed with the wheat, which is what they wanted, because the grass was totally resistant to the funguses. But they couldn't get it to breed with the wheat. They couldn't even get the DNA of the two species to cross in the lab when they tried to make it into a GMO back in the 50s or back in the day. So what they did was first they crossed Aegilops ventricosa with another species entirely, which is called Triticum cathaticum. And then they thought, well, maybe we can cross this Triticum cathaticum with normal wheat, and then we'll have something which is resistant. But they hit another roadblock. When they crossed the Aegilops ventricosa and the Triticum cathaticum together, the seeds were sterile. So nothing that they made could actually work. So the only way they could get that was to dump a chemical called colchicine, which if you look this up is like horrific, all over the wheat in order to make it not the wheat, all over the seeds to make lots and lots and lots of extra chromosomes.
Yeah, they just mutated the shit out of it.
Correct. So now we're making tons of extra chromosomes. They got those seeds.
Basically, this is like Spider-Man's origin
Yes,
story.
and they tried to cross it again with wheat, but they ran into another problem because what you have to do at that point is do what we call back crossing, breed it over and over again with normal wheat so that eventually you get as much wheat gene in there as possible and as little of the grass gene that they want. So they couldn't get that to work. So what they did was they took all of those seeds, which they then put into the colchicine, and they bombarded it with X-rays.
Okay.
Just to break up the DNA.
A different X-Man.
Correct.
Now
Now we're making X-Men. Exactly. It's no longer first we did Spider-Man. Now we're making X-Men. They break that up, which allowed them to breed it finally with lots and lots of the wheat, which actually came out with something called moisin. And then moisin they later bred with something else to make rayozon, and later they bred that to make rennin.
Okay.
So that's how you get rennin. This is clearly a genetically modified organism.
It's also inefficient. It's
Yes.
like the least efficient way to create a GMO ever.
That's because that's what they could do in the 1950s and 1960s when they were trying to do this. But this is like what renin is. It never occurred in nature. It is unbelievably popular in France, where they call it organic wheat, and they put it in all the breads and everything else. And so when you buy like organic, non-GMO wheat, this is what you're getting.
But it didn't. But the gene didn't come from like a fish.
So
It came from like wheat, but
you can
not
say
quite
that, but
wheat.
ironically enough, this is much less controlled. There's much less extra stuff in this. It's never been studied to see what the safety is or what could have happened when they did all of this DNA. It was, they never looked about it. You just wind up with something with far more other stuff in it than you would be if you were very scientific about just trying to move a gene or two. But this is totally allowed, and it still baffles me. Just sort of the rules that we will apply to say that this is totally okay, that is totally
Is
not.
there anybody who's like, renin is bad? Like,
There are some individuals who will try to do it, but they get shouted down quickly.
because people are like, but it's delicious.
It's
and
organic.
it's important to our economy.
Right. And it's already like it's everywhere in France, and this is what we breed.
can't
and this
get
is what
rid
we
of
use.
it
We
now.
can't possibly get rid of it.
Is there an
So we
element
let
of
go.
like economic protectionism to the GMO thing in Europe?
I think there is in America too. I mean, when they came out with a lot of the rules that whether we had the label that foods had GMOs in the United States, originally they exempted a lot of the smaller manufacturers, and especially when they were doing it in Vermont, I think they exempted like the milk industry or something that was local because it was clearly they didn't want to have to deal with, they didn't want to hurt the local economy. They just wanted to hurt big bad food companies. And so while I can come up with lots of reasons to get angry at a lot of the big companies and what they do with respect to food, this rarely gets down to safety. A lot of it is economics and protectionism and things
Right.
like that.
I mean, it's interesting the ways that we have done genetic modification over the years, because now, we can be very specific and the tools are getting very advanced and they're very powerful. But early on, it was really like, okay, well, let's dump a chemical on it and see if we can get a weird effect.
And it's still that a lot of it is let's irradiate the hell of it and see if we can get a weird effect. And that still is not recognized as genetically modified organisms
Right.
under the laws and regulations around the world.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Genetic
crazy.
modification
Makes
is
no sense.
careful gene
Right.
manipulation. moving
That's
one
bad.
gene.
Wholesale chemical baths and radiation are totally okay.
Would we be more receptive to GMOs? Like, would this be a more difficult or easier fight if it wasn't so much about patents and controlling foods and big companies trying to own the seed supply and all that
So
junk?
that's a great question. And I think that's a totally different argument, and that might be the case. But I think some of the backlash might be because of that, because
Right.
of some of the patent laws, and especially that happens in the United States. But, we're really haphazard about this too. I mean, a lot of the medications we make insulin is entirely made by GMOs today. Basically, we bred, first we bred animals, but now we breed basically E. coli just to create this as a byproduct. And that was entirely created by genetically modifying the E. coli so that they spit out insulin. And that we have no problem with.
Well, yeah, because they're just spitting out insulin. Just
Why
one
is
thing.
that okay?
It's just the one
We're
thing.
injecting that into people's blood.
But just the one. We know what protein it is. It's insulin over and over
Why
again.
would
Just-
that's okay, but it's
just
still
the one thing. Whereas when I eat a tomato, it's like 8 million different proteins, which is also a very interesting thing to me when we talk about the ingredients. And
Right.
people will be like, I'm not going to eat, there's like 1,000 ingredients in that. And I'm like, how many ingredients are there in a tomato? Like if you listed out all the names of the ingredients in a tomato, like all of the different proteins and amino acids and the lipids and not just that, but also the enzymes and like if by name, and also weird vitamins and carotenoids and all these things, it'd be a really long list. Like a tomato's a complicated chemical thing. There's a huge number of chemicals in a tomato, but when you put it on the ingredients in your tomato sauce, it just says tomato.
Yeah, but even when we breed, like the idea that every tomato is genetically pure and exactly the same and their DNA is the same is also crazy.
Yeah, it's
they're not.
weird
Yeah.
vegetable Hitler.
Yeah, that's right. See,
The
vegetables are
genetic
dangerous.
genetic
Terribly,
purity
terribly
of,
dangerous.
of your tomatoes.
Oh man, the master tomato raiser. One tomato to rule them all.
Okay, who's uncomfortable? All right, well, we'll talk. Maybe it'll come back up. But now it's Victoria's turn to amaze.
Apparently, an unexpected to me, unexpectedly really good source of calcium is plant ashes.
Plant ashes?
Yeah.
How do you get plant ashes?
You burn plants.
Oh God, I feel like.
But yeah, apparently, there is a study that suggested, it wasn't conclusive at this, but that gladiators, possibly after they like a workout or whatever, they would have like an energy supplement of their plant ashes to like replenish.
Like they go to GNC and buy like just burned tree.
I have so many questions. So many. Like, how did they do a study of gladiators?
Did they go and like look at the gladiator poop bins where all the gladiators pooped?
There was like no, they studied bones of gladiators versus your average Roman at the time, and diets were pretty similar. Gladiators seem to have a diet largely of barley, wheat, and beans. But everything was pretty similar, but there was a big difference in the strontium-calcium ratio of gladiators versus your average Roman.
Why were they eating plant ashes? Not plants.
Maybe they knew
No,
something.
I'm asking questions. I'm fascinated.
I tried to figure out whether, like, what that did, like if it activates different nutrients in it, because I've heard that happens with cooking things sometimes.
Right.
So that would make sense to me, but I could not find any actual reason. But they're not the only ones who do this. It's also pretty common among Native Americans. Specifically, I found Hopi people would burn the ash of a saltbush plant and make this sort of like blue cornmeal thing.
I have had this food.
Really?
I had it on the Navajo reservation where they make like weird ash pancakes, and it tastes
Navajo
like
people too.
corn and ash, and then they like treat it like a tortilla chip. You put it in salsa or something. Not great. But
yeah,
like food.
they do this for like calcium because apparently Native American people, 74% tend to be lactose intolerant. Not that your choices are dairy or plant ashes, but yeah, basically gladiators are getting swole on their plant ash post-workout supplements.
So you can't get the calcium if you eat the plant? Only the plant ash?
It might be a lot more. It might be a lot more faster, and also there might not be as many. Like if you just eat a bunch of leaves, that might have all kinds of ill effects on your digestion.
Too much fiber.
But
or
if you
something.
burn it first, there might be. You might lose all that cellulose. You don't have to worry about that.
Right.
You just get the minerals.
Interesting.
Yeah, the article I read about Navajo people, they were burning juniper branches. And the Hopi people were doing the saltbush plant. And gladiators, they weren't sure, but they said probably something with cedar, pine, and oak. But yeah, I tried to figure out specifically because I was like, there's kale. Like, what's... But
There's kale. Come on. Was there kale, though? Kale happened fairly recently, I feel like. Kale...
I think it became a thing really recently.
No. It's just like all...
like when millennials
all of
invented avocados.
Yeah.
Right.
My friend Jason, who just won't shut up about kale, happened fairly recently.
Has he made you eat like kale chips?
Oh, God, he's made me eat every... He has a kale fucking tattoo.
Oh,
this man.
no.
I love you, Jason, if you're listening, but I don't know that you need a kale tattoo. But kale is one of the many vegetables that comes from the exact same plant. Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, several other things are all the same plant that have just been bred to have different. Not it's not like a pig where it's just bacon and pork loin.
I was thinking like if you harvest it at this stage as a Brussels sprout later. No.
Yeah, no. Okay. But like they were all bred into a variety of different things. And I think that happened fairly recently. But it may have been pre-Roman. I'm not sure. Probably
Those are
not.
all calcium dense plants though.
Yeah.
So if they didn't have that might explain why they were like, let's burn some stuff and see what happens.
Well, it's just like, like you can like cows. I mean, maybe not cows. I crave that mineral. Was that a goat on the side of the mountain?
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, this is a goat. But anyway, like salt licks, you put there are places where I looked at the GIF again and I laughed. There are places where deer and moose and a lot of different animals will go to because they need minerals that they're not getting in their food supply, and they'll go. And it's weird, like, what is it in their brains that's like, I'm running low on potassium. I need to go lick this particular rock. How do you know? You're a moose.
I always thought that was kind of bullshit. I could be wrong.
It's real. No, it's real.
I mean, isn't that driven by cravings? Like when you're craving a certain thing, you need this certain nutrient.
Maybe
there's diseases in kids. That's why I thought you were going with pica, where like they eat dirt because like they're craving. I wish I could remember what it was. I don't want to say iron, but something, and they truly they eat dirt. And
really?
Is that what happened to me? I was on prednisone and I couldn't stop eating cheese.
Prednisone's just a weird thing. Man.
I just think of people being like, "Oh, I'm really craving chocolate. I must need it."
That's different.
I mean, I was on prednisone. I went to the store and I was like, "What do I want right now?" Because sometimes you're like, just check in with myself. What is it that would make me happiest at the moment? And I went and I bought a block of cheese and ate it.
Oh my God!
Which
what kind of cheese?
I think it was Havarti.
This was as an adult.
Yeah, what?
It was like recently.
This was this week.
I saw you tweet about being on prednisone. I sympathize.
Yeah. It's I'm off it now. It's a 6-day course. So
that's short. Oh, good.
Well, it's for my arthritis, not for my colitis. There's a lot of stuff wrong with me. But yeah, it makes you very hungry. And I was amped for a little while. Yeah. And then I started to feel like shit. Yep. But that was great in the beginning. I went to the gym and I hit it hard and I was like, I could do that again. And Catherine was like, you're broken. There's something wrong with you. And then I was like, I need to eat a cheese. Not like some cheese, like a cheese. Like the package that it comes from the cheese supplier in. Not like the ground. I need a wheel of cheese. I was like, I opened the refrigerator the second morning I was on prednisone and I was like looking, what do I want to eat? And I stared for 30 seconds at the sour cream. Before I was like, you can't do it, Hank. You can't just eat sour cream. That's not okay.
You can. Cravings, I think, do exist. I mean, you hear plenty of reports of pregnant women who crave this or that. Yeah. That's obviously hormonal changes. Yeah. Or who are repulsed by certain foods. But there are illnesses, I think, where people are craving things. So the animals somehow clearly want it, too. They know what they want.
And they're going to that rock to crave that mineral.
They're getting it.
And just like the gladiators, they're burning some juniper bushes.
But how would they? Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Because that's a change. How did you know to burn?
They're not the only ones, though.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
I don't think I should ever sit by you while you have your computer again.
A man contains 1,200.
Only the time I was on this happened that time too.
Yeah.
We were looking stuff up and it was horrifying.
A single human man contains 125,000 calories.
Well, that's more than 100,000.
This one's pieced out.
That guy's still right.
How much is the
Rob.
brain?
I mean, no, Rob was saying a cow had more than 100,000.
Right at the man, too. He nailed it. More than 100,000.
More than, yes, easily. So, yeah, your, thighs, 13,000 calories. As much as an entire cow's blood.
Is a human thigh?
The human thighs.
Is that with or without the blood?
I don't know. The blood is not on this on this chart, which makes me skeptical of
I'm skeptical of the whole thing because I'm curious. Is it include the bone and the marrow, or are they going with thigh meat?
True.
I don't know that it's all included, but the brain with spinal cord and nerve trunks is 2,700.
Wow. I really want to know if they did that study or if they're just doing it by sort of mass.
If they actually really dehydrated it and put it in a bomb calorimeter.
Did they remove it all out and drop it in there and test it? Really?
Oh, man.
And nerve trunks, how far out did they go?
Right, yeah. What counts as a nerve trunk? Right. I'm sure somebody knows the answer to that question. All the things I was finding didn't include the skin or the blood and the calculations of how many calories are in a human body. So I just typed in calories in a human skin, and it auto-completed to skinny latte. Calories in human skinny latte. It's like, what's a human skinny latte?
That must be an off-menu item.
It's not milk, it's blood.
Well.
Wish they perfected the frothing process.
No.
Is it served hot? I mean, it would. Was it iced?
Blatte. Anyway, I don't know. How many calories are in my skin, Google?
This is very bad. We need to not.
All right, Victoria,
Like
how do we
this episode
back?
can't go live.
From the head of our communications department, how do we backpedal and make this okay?
Let's talk about veganism.
I was vegan for a month, and then I was vegetarian for like 4 years. So solid, real
So what
vegetarian.
happened, Jen?
I go vegetarian for like hours a day.
I was going to say meals. I have vegetarian meals.
I honestly like try very. I should be trying harder, but I try to regularly have like, because for me this is not so much a suffering issue. I know that maybe it should be because there's a lot of suffering that is part of our food system, but it's a future of the world thing. And so my main thing is like, how do I decrease this?
Yeah.
And that can be as simple as like, instead of like the recipe calls for 2 chicken breasts, have 1 chicken breast, or the recipe calls like, I'm making tacos, half of it's going to be beans, or 3/4 of it's going to be beans, and there's going to be some meat in there with the beans. But also sometimes it's bean tacos.
Yeah.
And sometimes and never is it steak because I just don't like it.
I love steak.
Sorry, what was that?
I do love steak. I love steak. It's delicious.
I like steak. I like 1 bite of steak, and I always will take it from the person who's sitting next to me at a restaurant if they're having steak, and I'll be like, "Can I have a steak?" And then they say yes, and then I get a little bit of steak.
Victoria, yeah, you asked why I stopped being vegetarian.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, I would go to a restaurant sometimes, and the only option would be fries. And there was a salad that
Yeah.
had chicken in it. And I was like, that's a healthier option. And it got to the point where I just broke, and I was like, when that's the healthier option, I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I still eat a lot of vegetarian vegan things. I don't drink milk. The only thing I have in my fridge, actually, that isn't vegetarian or vegan is cheese. Cheese is just what broke me from the vegan part.
Havarti.
But I drink like almond milk and all that stuff. So I don't know. I couldn't handle no cheese.
I find it very hard to be a little bit vegetarian. Like for a while I was like, I'll do vegetarian, and then when I'm at somebody's house and they're making dinner for me, I won't worry about it. And then immediately I'm like, meat. So I've gone back and forth a whole lot of times. But we pretty much finished this episode of Holy Fucking Science. Thank you, Victoria, for trying your best to steer us in directions that are not going to end in
Most of us are going to hell.
the careers of people getting destroyed.
You already can't run for office because.
Oh no, yeah, I did say that I did spend an awful long time deciding whether or not I was going to jerk off in the Oval Office if I got elected president. Mm-hmm. Thanks to Lindsay Doe. Man.
I did explanations today. I get it.
Just trying to get you to say all kinds
I did the
of
podcast, and how I'm speaking, I'm like, oh my God, this is not good.
I know, but we need to be more open about these things.
I'm totally fine with it, but I was thinking, like, who else is going to listen to this? Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Who else is going to listen?
Yeah.
Like
It'll
children?
be fine. Right. My children, for that matter, yes.
No, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about this entire process of having documented my life for the last 10 years. I don't know that much about my dad's 20s, and I'm glad. But boy, my children will know everything about all my weird bullshit. I just did a whole, butt gag. Thanks for listening to this episode of Holy Fucking Science, everybody. We're available wherever podcasts are. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/ what is it?
Holy fucking science.
Holy Fucking Science. On Twitter, though, we're not. We're HF Science, right? Is there an underscore?
HF_science.
Science. Why am I asking Stefan when
I don't know, it
Victoria's
was
sitting
very
right
weird.
here?
Were you able to write out the whole thing?
On YouTube.
YouTube lets you write out Holy Fucking Science.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. And thanks to all of you for listening. Thanks to Stefan for hanging out behind the camera, making sure everything's working, listening to the audio. Our small studio audience of silent gigglers, it was nice to have you here as well, Mark and Stan. And this has been me. I was Hank Green.
I was Jenova Payton.
Arron Carroll.
Victoria Bongiorno.
And this has been
Holy Fucking Science.